Hi guys, how are you? So I'm at my friend's house watching the kids today. So they're downstairs playing video games. They came home from school and they got their snack and everything. So I don't know how long I'll have, but we're gonna see if I can try to do a video. But yeah, if they come up or whatever, that's kids. That's just the way it is. And on that note. I wanted to mention, like, or at least acknowledge or say, like a lot of people have always said to me, they're always like, oh, you don't seem like the type to XYZ, like kids and cooking or whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I am always like, you know what? Like most women, we're like onions. Right? Okay, so you know what I mean by that. Like an onion has layers and layers and layers and layers, right? And I've always said, like, I'm the type that will, wipe some heinies if I'm watching babies, kids, whatever, or if I'm, helping out with grandparents, kids, like family or whatever. If I have to wipe some heinies or whatever, clean up, throw up, or whatever, clean the house in, I'll do it in heels and makeup and earrings and whatever, looking good or not, just depending on the kind of day I'm having, right? Okay, but that just, what I'm trying to say is I'm as real as can get, like I'm as real as can be, or as real as it'll ever get. And being real means like your day, everybody's day. I think a lot of people's day, right? We wear a lot of different hats. We might go to work and we're working, and you might get to be like a makeup artist, or you can do whatever, whatever you are at your job, right? Like if you're a boss or if you are a bank manager or something like that, whatever it is, if you're whatever, you're good at it or whatever, you don't like, and then you come home and what happens? If you're a mom, you might be a boss at work and you come home and you got to start wiping some heinies, right? Or if you got little kids or whatever, cook dinner, or, it's like a totally different environment, right? Like from hour to hour in your day, and me personally, when I'm home, I feel like I'm still working, or like when I'm helping my friend out, I feel like I'm still like working or whatever. Like some people like to cook, some people don't. I actually like to cook. I actually don't mind. And I love her kitchen. She has a big old kitchen. And I love a gourmet kitchen or a nice kitchen. You know what I mean? Like I love a big kitchen. And I'm like my grandmother like that. So I could spend hours and hours and hours, in somebody's kitchen. So, anyway. And I like to food prep. Like that's another one of the things that I like to do is I like to like food prep and, just do whatever. Make stuff or whatever, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if I can, if I have time, you know what I'm saying? Or if I'm home, I tend to, I'm still up doing a lot of things, like I'm kind of one of those people. I'm a busybody, usually with my hands. Like I like to do things with hands. I like to, anything from decorating to whatever, right? But like from hour to hour, but it was like the other day or yesterday, I was doing my friend, her makeup for her event. And it's like the next minute I'm with the kids and I'm, I was cooking dinner and doing more food prep and, and I just think that that's like the beauty of a real woman and of women in general, women around the world, just how we are, right? We can embody so many different roles at any given moment. And I've always been this way. Like I can remember being young and, still living at home and still, watching my brother and sister and, watching kids, I babysat in the house. I used to drive my dad crazy, cooking and cleaning, but I was about that, making that money with the babysitting. I literally did that in my parents' house. Even before I moved out, I was a babysitter, right? So anyway, as women, we can really embody so many different hats, but then we have to, when you create life, right? Like when you literally like pop out a baby, or if you are in charge of a life, if you are in charge of kids, what are you? We are literally going to have to do or be a lot of different types of roles, right? We might have to be a therapist to our kids, like help them with their problems, listen to them, or a teacher. We might have to help them with their homework, their math problems, or whatever, picking out clothes. So, now you're like a stylist, and then on top of that, if you're like me, you want to be frugal. I don't like to spend a lot of money, so, that's, definitely a planner, an event planner, when you're, helping, like getting the best deals and everything. So anyway, that is just give yourself a pat on the back, when, as a mom and as a woman. And I know there are some men, out there who do the same type of thing. They like to, or they're actually capable of handling many different roles. But due to the, difference in hormones, women tend to be better at multitasking with several different things, like from one extreme to the next. Now, men can multitask, let's say at work. Men can definitely multitask when it comes to like work things or stuff like that, right? But, I'm not saying that no men can be a stay-at-home and multi. I just think it depends on how in touch you are with the different hormones that we all, like men and women both have, estrogen and testosterone running through the body. That's the way God made us, and progesterone. So it just depends, but for the most part, the majority, I'd say, women tend to, around the world, would agree with me. Like around the world, no matter where you are, what country, we wear different hats and we do different things, right? For me, doing makeup and getting to do makeup for work is absolutely it's always been my fun spot, my happy spot, the things that I enjoy the most. I always saw myself as a makeup artist from the time I was 3. I mean, I can remember watching TV and thinking like I wanted to do somebody's makeup, so-and-so's makeup. Like I would be looking at people like, oh, she should be wearing this color. I don't know how I thought. I knew that at 3 years old, but I did. Anyway, so I am one of those few people who actually figured out like their talent or what, their gift or their talent or what they enjoy the most, what they would like to do, young in life, very young. I didn't get to like really start making money at it right away because, it takes time, especially something like that. And we also didn't have YouTube back then. We did not have no YouTube to just click on a video and be like, how do I become a makeup artist, and to copy other people. I had to like literally study. And when I say study, I mean obsessively study the faces of the magazines, like Jet magazines and all the like glamour magazines, all those magazines, anybody pretty that I saw or I liked the way they did the makeup, I literally would study for hours. I would look at the coloring of the face. And back then I didn't know that there was anything called airbrushing. I didn't understand like digital airbrushing. I didn't understand that. Again, this was like before YouTube. So, I was actually studying I was practicing perfection, right? Like I was practicing perfected look, a final look on like a magazine or whatever. But I was trying to get it to look like that in real life with the few makeup tools or things that I had. My mom would give me her leftover makeup, stuff like that. And I would obsess over blending, right? And I did that so obsessively, to the point that by the time I actually came on the scene and really started doing makeup, people loved me. They loved me. And of course, to me, I look back at my work and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. But for the time back then and the feedback that I had gotten, it encouraged me to keep going. Everybody loved my eyes, my makeup, whatever, yada, yada. And, I kind of grew. You keep growing. You don't ever stop growing. You keep learning new techniques and new things and doing different things. And that's pretty much my story when it comes to makeup. But it's like literally, I can remember coming home from a makeup job, a gig, or working like at the Met counter, or I did Mary Kay for 8 years and I did parties and stuff. I can remember nursing. My second son literally at parties. Like I can remember going and doing the party for whoever, right? Like one of my hostesses, and nursing, telling people, okay, put this there, put that there, do that. And so that is a prime example of being able to multitask and wearing different hats, right? And doing it well, because I still made money. I definitely sold sales. Like, it was fine. And I didn't give anybody, I would tell them, like, this is, I got a kid. I did it. No, well, I was still nursing Jaden. Jaden nursed way too long, but I didn't have to take him to parties like that. But, like, I would tell people, like, if you want me here, if you want me to do this party, then that means, I'm going to have the baby, I'm going to be nursing, So it is what it is, right? And that was the beauty of being independent, having your own job, right? Or having your, like, it was like your own business or whatever. With Mary Kay. Now with the other companies, people, they recently all got on board with that, nursing thing. But anyway, that was my whole long rant for women, right? And so with that, like I said, the kids may come up here or whatever, but the dinner is made. I've been pre-made dinner and everything, so that part is good. They are whatever. So we'll just see. Anyway, so one thing I want to mention is I always talk about how my mom, who was very communicative with me and always shared with me like her personal journey and things like that, and as she did her inner child work and self-therapy type of things or whatever, she shared it with me at a young age, which at the time I didn't really appreciate as much because I felt it to be daunting, and I was young and I was like, oh, this is like not necessary, but in actuality, like on a daily basis, I'm very like yes, baby? You hear me? Here they come. On a daily basis, I thank my mom in either, in person or, literally like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I'm so glad my mom taught me X, Y, Z, right? And different things that, honestly, they come back to you at different times, right? There were certain core things that she taught me that I have repeated as an example and stuff to my friends on a regular basis for years, right? For years, I have repeated some of the things that my mom taught me about certain life facts, or, I won't say life hacks, but, like to help people understand and kind of like move on, and certain things that my mom taught me, right? Example. So one of them was like I shared in, I think it was the last video I did about the faucet, right? The water faucet. And when you turn it on, or AKA when a event happens in your life that's traumatic, good or bad, negative or whatever, that's like turning the faucet on to some emotions, right? Emotions are then created, which is the water that's coming out, right? Now, once that faucet is turned on and you turn the handle and those emotions or the water starts coming out, you can't stop it from coming out. You can try to block it. You can try to stuff it. You can try to, run from the feelings or the emotions and whatnot. But once the event has happened, whatever the event is, or once there becomes that memory, or it's good or bad, right? Traumatic, whatnot. But that starts a chain reaction, right? Of the water is coming out. And now if you try to block it or you try to stuff it, at the faucet part, what my mom used to always say, you might get it to work for a little while to not deal with your feelings and emotions for a minute. But if you do that too long, what will end up happening is things will blow up underneath the sink, right? It'll be like if you look up underneath the sink, you're going to see like everything's going to explode. And that's your feelings and emotions, right? And that's representation of your feelings and emotions is basically how the pipes will bust, right? And so if you can, at the jump, at the beginning, when you first turn the faucet, or when the event happens, or when something happens, if you learn to speak out your feelings, your truth, whatever they are, whatever you're feeling from the jump at the beginning, aka maybe turn it slow so the water it's coming out a little bit slower, and you can kind of articulate, or start to spit out what you're thinking and feeling. Even if it is a slow drip, you won't necessarily bust underneath the sink. You necessarily won't have your pipes won't necessarily bust and explode, right? This will help you, right? So there's less damage, right? The pipes busting is likened to when people just go crazy, get mad, or they've held too much inside for too long, and then they just explode on people. Or like I say, traumatic events, when they happen, when people don't address their emotions, their feelings, and their what's actually the issues right away, what's actually happening is it's just prolonging their healing, so that it starts spilling out in their relationships and other relationships, and starts spilling out and causing other traumatic events underneath the sink, causing more damage, right? So when the pipes burst, what happens now that the wood is all yucky and damaged, right? If there's wood under there, or if you have any materials or any items under there, they could get ruined and destroyed. So those are like innocent bystanders. You know, when we say hurt people, you know, hurting people hurt people. People who are hurting on the inside, they hurt others, right? Why? That's what it's likened to. Like, now everything is wet. Whatever was underneath the sink is now all wet, right? And it's getting damaged from somebody trying to stuff the sink, the faucet, the faucet part, to stuff it up here and not deal with their feelings and emotions here, so that it's busting underneath, right? And those are innocent, right? And sometimes if you are the innocent person, you know, the bystander or the innocent victim, if you want to say, whatever, you still have to learn to deal now with that hurt that was created, right? And most parents, most families, I have noticed that, you know, these days with the internet, obviously with YouTube and stuff like that, like, honestly, there are a lot of people who are forward thinking and, you know, who can go on, you know, like they know that they need to handle things differently maybe than the way they were raised. And now you can find so much help and stuff online, right? People like me sharing their experiences, things like that. But also just apps, you know, self-help apps, you know, like, there's so many therapy apps. I mean, and now even, you know, ChatGPT is therapy. I mean, I talk to her every day. I mean, she's a bomb. Okay, Chat is a bomb. I paid for the whole full subscription. Anyway, but yeah, so it's like now there's lots of avenues and ways, but also number one is prayer. Always number one, pray to God first before you go to any type of book or self-help, anything. Pray to God and you ask Him for His Holy Spirit to guide and direct what is brought into you as far as knowledge, so that you can make good decisions for yourself, right? So that He can keep you on the path that is on the straight and narrow, right? Or in the upright, right? So that you can, you know, better yourself in the right way. Now, my mom used to always say, now we're Italian, okay? I'm half Italian, and my Italian side, my mom used to always say, people come to you with a bowl of issues. Like, you can just kind of describe your issues like, here they come. Hi, I'm recording. Are you hiding?
No.
Are you guys hiding? You gonna? No, don't shut the door on your brother. I need to be able to hear. You gonna come over here? All right, come. Don't touch anything over there. No, come over here and look. Come say hi, because I already know that's what you want to do. So we might as well come over here and say hi.
Hi.
Okay, I'm trying to record a video. We're gonna see how long I can do it. Okay. Did you drink your milk? Did you drink the almond milk that I put? The key lime colada? It's on the counter.
On the table?
On the counter. I poured it for you. The key lime one.
Alright.
Okay. Love you. Okay. Anyway, so my mom used to always say, like, people come to you. Basically, imagine everybody, because we live in an imperfect world. Everybody has issues, right? Everybody has issues. Hold on, I'm sorry. Everybody has issues. Everybody has problems and things, however they grew up, right? Some people have more than others, right? But if you can imagine that everybody, when they come to you as a friend or a family or a mate, a potential mate or whatever, right? Like I've said before, they come with a cup. The cup of love. Or my mom used to say, everybody's issues are as like a bowl of spaghetti. That's what she used to always say. She goes, your issues are like a bowl of spaghetti. And at some point in your life, you'll need to, dump out this bowl like this and actually examine what was in this bowl, one strand at a time. My mom, this is how she taught me. Because again, we're Italian. So one strand at a time. Each strand is represents a different issue. Okay?
Mom,
this could be I see your milk mustache, but you know what? That is supposed to be downstairs. You're supposed to be drinking that downstairs. Your mommy and daddy don't want you bringing food all around the house. So you go drink that at the table, okay? Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, because you know
You're
you're.
being another milk mustache.
Yes, you have a milk mustache.
It's drinking. I have a milk mustache.
Yes, and you're growing a mustache
Yeah.
because you're a boy.
Do girls have some?
No, I don't have a mustache.
Some
No.
girls have some.
Okay, we're not going to discuss that right now.
Yeah. Right?
Right. Can I finish talking?
What are you doing?
I'm doing my video.
For the haunted city.
Yeah, for my YouTube. Remember how you guys have watched my videos?
But how?
Your brother's calling you.
All right, Robert. All right, when you go downstairs.
Okay, so anyway, my mom used to say, like, you know, here's your bowl of spaghetti, and everybody, just pretend everybody has a bowl. Everybody has a bowl. You know, hopefully, and if they haven't done this, then you might have to help them do this, or, you know, guide them to go get help with this. But they need to dump their issues out, whatever they are, and they might think that they don't have issues, and that's true. Some people come to you with a bowl that looks like this. Like, that's their issues. It's not much. Or maybe they've already worked on their issues. So, you know, they don't have very much, right? But my mom would say, dump them out. She would always say that. And let's examine each issue, each problem, each emotion, right? Each thing. Like angry. Like, why are you angry? Or each event, each, you know, memory that created a strong emotion. And, you know, she said, she used to say, you straighten it out. Like, you need to unravel them and lay all your issues out, or these events, different things out. So you would list them. So let's say, you know, I fell and broke my arm at, you know, 8 years old, or, you know, God forbid, you know, you know, one of my parents passed away when I was 11, you know, like my kids, you know, every strong event that happened in your life, where you think you've got yourself under control because you're just not letting it affect, you think you're not letting it affect you, right? But each one of these events, you lay them out and you will name them, okay? And the reason why you're doing this is because until you do this, it looks like this. That's what you look like. Until you do this and you take the time, okay, and it might seem like this takes a long time. Actually, this is, in fact, ChatGPT can help you. Okay, these days, I didn't have chat way back when, okay, and I, you know, obviously was blessed that I didn't have a whole lot of crazy issues, right? But we all, if you are in this world at all, and we know that people are imperfect, I mean, everybody sins and falls short, right, of His glory. So people are going to hurt us, or we're going to hurt others, okay? So there's going to be some issues. So I've done this type of thing, okay? But anyway, you want to straighten them out and look at each issue, each event, or each emotion, and you're going to ask yourself, you know, things like, you know, how did you feel when this happened? Who was at fault? How old were you when this event happened, right? And also, when we say who is at fault, we're not playing the blame game, but there are some things that you know are really not your fault. Like if you were underage, severely underage, and something happened to you, maybe you were 3 or something like young, you did not know any better. So could you be held responsible for being, let's say, molested or something like that as a child? No, absolutely not. You could not, okay? If you were raped as a child or something, or maybe as a young adult, and that's an issue that you need to figure out and discuss. And yeah, that's not, ultimately it's not your fault either, especially if anything was done, you know, beyond your will, like what you didn't want anybody, you know, you didn't give anybody permission, right, to touch you. On the other hand, if you were out walking at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, because you decided to be rebellious, and from your parents or whatever, and you're underage, and you dress scantily, and you put yourself in a position in a bad area, or something like that, like whatever. In other words, it's like you can learn a lesson, like I don't want to walk over there on that side of town again. I don't want to be out late at night doing XYZ or whatever, because you're putting yourself at extra risk for certain things that you could be you can take responsibility for that part of maybe the event, right? That's what you're doing. You're looking at each thing and you're really dissecting Okay, for example, let's say like me, I was divorced, right? So you can take time, you should take time to think about the marriage or whatever, and what part in the breakdown of the relationship did you play, right? And be truthful about that. I mean, just be truthful, because lying about it, or lying to yourself or lying to others, is not going to help you fix the problem so you don't repeat the problem. The only thing that will help so that you don't repeat the problem is being truthful about what part did you take, if any at all. Can you take responsibility in that event that took place, or that failed marriage, or that issue, or that whatever? And you can then label, and you can actually write, because once you address it, once you talk about it, once you actually address it and you deal with it and you release it, then this is a very easy thing to look up, are releasing affirmations, different things that will help you just release. Like, I was 3 years old when such and such happened, and I was not responsible for that event and for that person creating that bad memory and creating that bad event. And I release that to God. Or I release that, I put that blame and give it back to that person. Here you go, here's your spaghetti back. You can do this figuratively, like you can just kind of do this like in your mind. It's a way of helping you to cope and to release certain events, certain things out of your energy, out of your mind, out of your brain, right? Because really, that's all that your trauma and issues and things, that's what they really want. They're really begging for attention. It's like your body is saying, hello, McFly, I'm hurt over here. You've not talked about that. Or if it's maybe something good, let's say you're running from love, like some people do, especially if you've ever had damage, if you've ever had, issues or whatever, if you don't trust and whatnot, right? But maybe you're falling in love with someone, but it's like you try to run from that feeling, right? And again, you trying to run and you're thinking you're doing the right thing, but now you're obsessively thinking about that person, or obsessively, it's like you are not trying to call that person, talk to that person. You're avoiding love and everything. You're like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to pretend that person doesn't exist or whatever, right? What happens is that the more you do that, the more pressure you create from stopping the water from coming out of the faucet, the more pressure you're creating underneath, to the point that you will explode, until you address whatever the feelings are, or as some people will say, unfinished business. Until you address the unfinished business, right? That emotion and that buildup will happen, okay? But your body, your emotional state, some people say your subconscious, right, is crying out to please address this feeling, address what happened, or address XYZ. And actually, when you learn to do this on a regular basis and addressing issues, bam, as they start, bam, as they come up, right away, as soon as you turn the faucet on, as soon as that event happens, as soon as an emotion is created, or an interaction has happened, a spark has happened, or let's say an argument, okay, as soon as, without being obnoxiously confronting someone who doesn't want you to do that, but you can address it within yourself, okay? The more you do that and you look at it head on and do it, it literally dissipates. It literally helps your issues, your things, so that you're now coming to people with a bowl that looks like this. Some straight spaghetti, and it's not that much. It's like, I have an ex, husband. We've, talked about our issues and we're done. I have a husband that passed away, and that was very sad, and that was, a lot of, but I've talked about it. I've dealt with that over and over to get to the point that I like to help others, and I no longer run from the topic of death. And so, yeah, that's there. I ran from not taking care of certain things that I needed to do in my career. Okay, why? Because I had kids and other people's kids. We had other stuff going on or whatever. But it's like, here, this is what it is. So it's kind of like, I like to liken it to say, or I like to put it like, it's like saying, tell me about yourself. When you meet somebody, I'm like, yo, just tell me all the bad up front. Like, I want to see how much have you actually addressed your issues, right? To me, I'm like, convince me to not like you, right? Like, I want to know the worst of the worst. And I do the same thing. I'm like, look, here's my issues. But now, because when you've actually addressed them, instead of it being so much pressure and it causing all this damage and you causing damage to other people, I mean, now it's like, you can't erase the events that happen. You can't unknow what you know. Like my mom used to always tell me that. You can't unknow what you know. You can't unmeet certain people once you've met them, right? Okay, we can try to erase them out of our lives, but the fact is, some people we meet and it's like, you make the worst of the worst mistakes, right? Like you decided to have children with some crazy person who, I've heard of people who literally regret for the rest of their life having children with a certain person and is their mother of their child. And they're like, why did I do that? Like they literally sentenced themselves to 18 years times 3 or however many kids that you've actually had of like, it feels like jail. It feels like jail time, right? And that's what it can be like if you don't address your own issues, like being codependent or like, having a mother that was not so loving or whatever, always just shutting down or hiding your feelings and emotions under, drinking or smoking or, getting high or whatever and not dealing with stuff, right? You'll bump into people that, are not necessarily best for you or were not actually sent by God. But now you've made it to like, you might have mixed credit with them. You might have decided to get married to them. You might have had children with them. You might have bought a house with them or stuff like that. And it's like now you've commingled and you've done it in a state of unawareness, in a state of where you were unhealed and unaware of you moving through the world in a such an unhealed version of you where you're always about to explode, right? Because you've not actually taken time to look to see where they stem from, where certain feelings and emotions stem from, and then looking at the issue head on, right? Looking at it head on and being like, this was not my fault. You did this, okay? And again, you don't have to actually say this to the other person. Some people decide to do this, some people don't. Sometimes the person has passed on now and you can't talk to them, but you can still say it and enact it like, you know what, I was not at fault for this because you didn't make enough money, or you were mad when you came home because we were poor or whatever, and you were always screaming when you came home, your frustration and you took out on me, okay, and that was not my fault, mom, dad, whoever, right? And you can have this back now. I'm done with holding on to this excess trauma or sadness or situation or whatever. Or because you were in a state of survival when you raised me, I was in a state of survival and I did some things that I'm not so proud of. I was young, but I thought I was doing the right thing by, making myself available to, a man or men or whatever, who offered financial assistance because I knew my mom needed this help. And so I put myself in a situation that was really in harm's way, whatever, right? Like, in other words, whatever the case is, we all know what our issues are. I'm just giving you different examples, different things that I've heard of and talked about with different people. But now, after you do that, they start to look like this. Instead of it being so long and so much and like a lot and all bundled up, and you don't know who belongs to what and who's at fault or, what happened and when and all of that kind of stuff. Like, because you haven't thought about that, right? Now, once you go through all that, it becomes very crystal clear what the issue is. And it's been straightened out. So it's shorter. It's a lot shorter. And it's like, there you go. And now you can place it in the bowl nice and neat. Like that. And then you can say to the next person that whether it be a job or whether it be an actual relationship or friendship, whatever it is, you can be like, yo, nice to meet you. And I have this issue, and I have, this issue. Is about this big. Okay, and you're like, having everything laid out nice and neat, right? Because you've taken time to do that. Okay, like that's what it looks like. Like that's what, it's like, yeah, I got issues, you got issues too. But it's nice. Mine are all nice and neat now, and I've discussed them all to, like to no end, whatever. And I've placed them in their proper place, and I've turned the handle to that emotions. I've turned the water off, okay, to that emotion or to that event, to that memory or whatever. It's now been addressed, and my body has released it. My memory has released it. I have released it, and it's time to move on. And honestly, some people go through, like, they do this type of stuff, like, depending on how bad and how much our issues and stuff are. I mean, honestly, you can do a lot of damage in one day. Not damage, let me say. You can do a lot of healing work in, like, one day. Like, literally, like, one day. A lot of it has to do with just actually addressing, speaking words to the emotions that was felt from your perspective of the event. Again, it just takes effort and the knowing to do this, right? And then you can close out unfinished business with people, places, and things, right? When they no longer actually... Oh, they were... Okay, somebody was playing basketball in the kitchen sink. Anyway, you can, like, now close out that quote-unquote unfinished business, because it's not unfinished, right? You've now completed whatever it is that you needed to complete, right? Okay, so again, imagine when people come to you, and as you're meeting new people, or you have actually, like, like start dating again or whatever. Okay, imagine that people come to you like that. Okay, with their bowl of spaghetti, and they may or may not have worked out their issues. You'll be able to tell rather quickly based on certain red flags, how many red flags that person presents to you, right? Fear of sharing emotions and being emotional or not. Like, are they liars? Are they cheaters? Do they steal? Are they in survival mode? Do they let you overgive? Do they let you do too much for them? Kind of stuff like, are they reciprocal? All of that, right? That will kind of tell you, like, how much has a person actually worked on their issues. Okay. And again, I encourage you to do your own work and your own bowl of issues to straighten them out a little bit at a time, and you'd be surprised how fast actually you can move through situations and things relatively fast. Now, if you've developed an anger problem or a short temper, from some of your past, you have emotions, that are being suppressed down inside. A lot of times, a lot of that will get resolved once you own up to and you actually speak words to these events. A lot of times, a lot of that will start to resolve itself, but also you'll let go of the ego and pride and whatnot enough to say, you know what, I developed an anger response to a lot of things based on the way I was raised, based on this and this and this issue, and now it's time to change that. And it'll be easier for you to look that bull right in the face and say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to respond like XYZ anymore. I'm going to employ different anger management techniques. I'm not going to be abusive, verbally, mentally, emotionally anymore, because now, I can see that not addressing certain issues and things like that is that that repressed emotion was the reason for that. But now I know I can handle it differently because I've cleared all that space out. I'm no longer reacting to things. I'm actually taking time to respond versus reacting, right? And so then you can present yourself in a much calmer, loving way into the world, right? Your issues are all straightened out, like, your all your spaghettis are, straightened out, and they're no longer bundled up, right? Okay, anyway, so I hope this helps. I wanted to try to get something out today. I was busy working today, and then I have the kids, obviously, and it's time for me to go down here and see what, I'm going to try to take them somewhere to the park or something, try to get them off their video games and stuff. But anyway, so I hope this helps, and yeah, talk with you soon. Bye.